This is a World War II U-boat. These boats were a major threat to the Allies during the war. But how? And why aren't they talked about more? You may have heard Billie Eilish's song about it, but what actually were they and why did they fail? U-boat stands for Undersea Boot, which is German for undersea boat or submarine. Germany started the war with a small but technologically advanced fleet of submarines, and their commanders, like Gunther Prien, achieved significant victories. This caused the British to implement a naval blockade of Germany, cutting off important supplies like food. This was devastating to the German people. In the first 2 years of the war, German U-boats were a devastatingly effective force. The U-boats would use the tactic called wolf pack, where groups of submarines would overwhelm and sink Allied convoys. This period is what the Germans called the happy time. There were simply not enough escorts to protect the merchant ships and no long-range air cover to speak of. So the U-boats ruled the Atlantic. By the end of 1941, German U-boats had sunk millions of tons of shipping. This caused major supply shortages for Great Britain. However, things began to turn in 1942. The entry of the United States into the war along with new tactics. The Allies responded to the U-boat campaign by forming larger, better protected convoys with more escort ships. They also began using long-range patrol aircraft to cover the Atlantic Gap, the area between the western approaches and the mid-Atlantic, where convoys were most vulnerable. Innovations in radar and sonar, meanwhile, made it much harder for U-boats to hunt and made it easier for escort vessels to detect them. The Battle of the Atlantic reached its climax in 1943. May 1943, in particular, was a turning point with a massive number of U-boats being sunk. By 1944, the U-boat threat was largely neutralized. Despite the introduction of advanced submarines with features like the snorkel, which allowed them to run their diesel engines while submerged, Allied anti-submarine warfare had become overwhelmingly dominant. U-boat losses mounted, and their ability to sink shipping declined drastically. The campaign, while initially effective, ultimately failed to cut off Britain's lifeline and did not prevent the massive buildup of forces needed for D-Day and the invasion of Europe. In the end, German U-boats sank nearly 3,000 ships, but they did so at a tremendous cost, losing over 700 of their own submarines. Thank you for watching this episode. If you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel.